welcome to One on One. I'm your host, Lee Adams. Today we have a very special guest. It's kind of part two of a series of interviews we're doing with a person that I'm just so happy to bring to you, and so you can learn his story. Today we have a four-time Super Bowl winning champion. He was a member of the Steel Curtain, and the Steel Curtain will be remembered forever in this city because they went to 4 Super Bowls and they won 4 Super Bowls. He was the shutdown corner opposite Mel Blount. Please let me introduce to you Mr. J.T. Thomas. J.T., it's wonderful to have you back.
Lee, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Definitely.
Yeah, it's wonderful to sit next to the champion. What's it like having 4 rings?
They're rings. They're in cigar boxes someplace. It was the rings were great, obviously, but they reflect friendship. They reflect a lot of unity. It actually reflects a lot of history.
Yeah.
Obviously, and they tell a lot of story that is probably greater than football. Really.
Yeah, you're right about that. No, we did part 1, and it was you growing up in Macon, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And we talked about, people I think just assume the little kid watches football on TV and they want to be a pro football player and that you love football and that's what you wanted to be, but that's not what you said in our first interview. So tell us, how you stumbled upon football and why you played football.
Well, I went to a Catholic school and we didn't play sports. It was a private school. It was segregated, and it was ran by the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament. And so basically, I didn't go to the same school that a lot of my first cousin in my household went to, or my neighborhood. I went to a different school, private school. Couldn't afford to be there, the tuition $4 a month, but I was there. But nevertheless, so sports wasn't what I played as an elementary kid, adolescent. I loved piano and stuff like that. I was a piano player. So in my neighborhood, my friends, they played in elementary school sports, and they would pick me to play if the dog didn't show up. Other than that,
you weren't the first pick.
I wasn't the first pick, and when I did, I'm just running up and down the basketball court or football field. But my reason for looking at sports was of a very negative, dark means, I guess, to become strong and big, to take my father out. My father was an aircraft refueler by trade, but was a awesome, just a genius at mechanic. So there would be cars and trucks, motorcycles, Harley Davidson at my house being repaired. Some of the football players to pick up cars and transmissions. So I'm a 10-year-old, at this time watching these football players in their strength. And my goal, if I'd be a football player, become one, I could take him out. So I got on my journey watching the Green Bay Packers of the 60s and seeing what football was all about, and my eyes fell on the secondary. This guy was running backwards. Herb Adderley and Willie Wood. Herb Adderley, number 26. Willie Wood's number 24, and I just thought it was so cool they was running backwards.
Running backwards.
Yeah, and I said, well, I'm gonna be a football player. I only won those 2 numbers my whole life, and only gotten 1 autograph from an athlete. It was Herb Adderley. But anyway,
did you meet Willie Wood also?
I never met Willie, no,
okay.
But I met Herb Adderley. He was my idol. But anyway, and I spent my in the Catholic school, my goal was to graduate and actually I'm going back to my neighborhood black school now, because I graduated in 9th grade, so I'm back with all my friends at the historical black school. And my school was also black, but obviously I'm in the public school system now. And at that same time I graduated, the principal, Mother Josepha, and my mother got together, and 2 women that really were a force in my life and scared the hell out of me, both of them did, most of the time, and said, I think it would be a good idea if JT would go to one of the white schools they're integrating, going to the 9th grade.
What did you think of that, JT?
Oh, hell, I didn't want to go because, why I'm going over? As a matter of fact, I used to ride by my bicycle, about 5 of us, and we used to have rock battles. They could recognize us coming. We had on blue shorts, blue ties, and blue pants. So they were waiting for us. So we had rock battles, and we had to find different ways to get to the Catholic school because, this the high school and junior high school that I had no idea all those years of riding by I'll be attending it. But anyway, I want to go to the black school that all my friends went to, but obviously I ended up, integrating the schools. My junior high school, myself and 12 other young black men. And back then, there in my hometown, the only co-ed schools were the black schools. We had two black high schools. They were co-ed, but the white schools were correlated. I don't understand how they pulled that off. They might have, like my school, near and about 4 blocks away, you have Miller High, the girls' school that related with it, but separate buildings. And so that was strange. And also, my high school was a military school. I don't know how you get a ROTC in a public school, but that's Georgia. Who cares? I mean, and so basically, I went there in the 9th grade. And I was 12.
And so you integrated that school.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so what was that like?
Oh, that was interesting.
They're all used to being all white, and here comes J.T. Thomas and some of your other friends.
Oh, yeah, the most, I grew up in the civil rights movement. Like I say, my religion, I wasn't Catholic, but I'm Baptist. So I was in the civil rights movement, marching and protesting. I'm 10, 11 years old. It's dogs, water hoses, people throwing urine, feces. So you grew up in that environment.
Civil rights.
And, Dr. King at that time was just coming up in the civil rights movement, obviously. And as a kid, we had seen him at certain mass meetings and stuff like that. So
I just want to stop you there for a second. So Dr. Martin Luther King, one of the greatest leaders in this country's history, and you saw Dr. King in person.
Oh, a couple of times, yeah.
And where was it, and what was he doing?
I think first it was the First Baptist Church in Macon, Georgia, the first time. And, when he come, he would have the young kids to, sit up in the front, obviously. And I think what was so earth-shattering about his message, he would tell us one day we'll be able to, our highlight, to go into a restaurant, to drink out certain water fountains, or to go to the fair. We couldn't go to the fair or the carnivals that was there. So as a kid, you 10, 11 years old, wow, I could go into Burger King and get a hamburger one day.
And you had no idea you were in front of greatness.
No, because that was just part of the South at that
Yeah.
time. And during that time, that was just part of the movement. And then you grew up in it. And so you were singing out, protesting, before, singing songs, before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave, all those things. So you was indoctrinated in that culture. And when, when you're young, if you're indoctrinated in something, you don't have the fear, or even your parents or grandparents, had. So we're a little more radical. At the same time, they were teaching.
You say you didn't have fear. Fear of what, and what helped you not have fear?
Well, you didn't have fear of death. I didn't fear the dogs, the water hose. I don't know, maybe I was just young and dumb, but it wasn't. I think it was, everything was based on a faith that we were cultural in, and belief. And in our history of overcoming, I've seen how we've overcome a lot of things. So there's no reason why we couldn't overcome that, And so it was just part of your culture, and fear is we didn't have the spirit of fear. And I look back. I was talking to one of my college roommates. We were the first 4 to go to Florida State, and to play football there, but I was the first one to actually play. And we were talking about this a few weeks ago about in that environment, we used to refer to it being a fly in the bowl of milk, that we never feared what was going on. A lot of protests going on, a lot of things going on around campus in Tallahassee, Florida. At
Civil rights movement.
Civil rights movement
Right in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it. And we wonder why we never had any fear. Regardless of where we were walking, I don't know. It just wasn't there.
Yeah. So you went to. Did you encounter any racism going to this white school, integrating
sure.
this white school?
Oh, most
what did you
definitely.
encounter? What, what did you feel?
It was even from teachers. I remember in the ninth grade, I had an English teacher named was Weta Poe, and I'm in this classroom, and she had a problem with the word saying Negro in the South. It was it's Negress or it's Negress. And she would say that, and she would tell stories. She was a little girl, and then Negress come to the back porch for lunch. So you're sitting there, and that was common to hear that. So being from a Catholic school, obviously, I had a different education that was probably above par. I'd say that. Yeah, it was. And so one day, I got tired of her saying Negress, and I say Miss Poe. I said, the word is not Negress. She looked at me. I say, the word is like your knee and you grow. What the hell did I say that for? You get out of my office. Get down to the office. Don't you dare come and tell me.
So she threw you out.
Out the class. I go down to the office, tell the principal. He said, what's on? I told him. Well, when I told him, he flipped out of the chair, fell behind his desk on the floor laughing. He thought it was so hilarious. And he crawled up from behind his desk and said, listen, okay, just sit over there and go to your next class.
So he got a kick out of it.
But anyway, that was even with players, they too, you understand these young white kids, they've been in racist Jim Crow South. They've never been in experience with African Americans, first time in a classroom, so they got ideas and thoughts and just prejudice that's there that you dealt with.
They were taught to think you were less than.
Oh, less than, you were inferior. But I think it was a learning tree. It was very curious. I never forget once I'm in history class, and right before we got to about the 1600s, they'd be whispering, here he comes, here he comes. And I said, what the? Here he comes, man. Now, we studied world history, so we done went from, I don't know, all the Roman empires to Greek and, what, and I hadn't shown up in the history books yet until 1619. So I turned a few chapters, I said, that's what they're talking about, here he comes, And so that was the type of stuff that was going on. You think about it, the education here, I was actually miseducated because, what happened, 1619, I pop up in I don't know, Jamestown or wherever, where the boat came in at. But prior to that, I'm not in history. So you can see the miseducation here for everybody. It's going on in the South. So everybody's suffering, but they don't realize, because ignorance is very expensive. And I wasn't in the books, but that was a travesty. That was a lie.
You just said ignorance is very expensive.
It's very expensive, yes.
What do you mean by that?
It will cost you, ignorance always costs you. It costs you in any way, whether it's in terms of how you look at life, how you interpret people, how you interpret anything. And if you look at it with ignorance as opposed to with discernment and openness, it costs you eventually down the line. You may get away with it and get an applause with it. You may get something you want out of it, but ignorance is from my experience, truth is always expensive.
Yeah, my grandfather went to 8th grade, and he was prejudiced, and then when I became educated, I went to a school that had all colors, and I used to think, why do you think that way? Well, it was ignorance. It's just pure ignorance.
Yeah.
He was a good man. He was just ignorant in that respect.
And a lot of times, I was taught that as opposed to judge people, you look at them, well, ask the question, why? I want to know why. And that why allows me to classify what I'm dealing with. Not a bad person. He's probably maybe acting like an animal, less than an animal, but he's ignorant. If he knew better, he'd do better. So it doesn't allow me to judge and classify him.
Well, how hard is that to give grace to someone that's racist against you, prejudiced against you, just because of the color of your skin? And so they treat you a certain way. How hard is it for you to give that person grace?
Well, like I say, I learned in the Catholic school from the nuns, because, understand, that was my first white experience. And most kids at age 5, black, are not getting that type of experience, where I learned at a very early age that all white folks weren't bad and all black folks ain't good. So I came up at an early age being able to discern that and look at people from a different genre or different paradigm in terms of who they were. And my mother, I guess one of the biggest influence when I integrated the 9th grade, she told me something that I came with the 95% rule today, I call it. She used to say, everyone in that room is just like you. And what she say, they may sound different, act different, talk different, but they have the same fears, the same goals, insecurities that you have. 95% of them is just like you. The 5% difference is the height, their color, and their taste buds. Other than that, so I'm 14. You tell me the height, color, and taste buds. Yeah, those are the only things that are different. Now they may present it a little different, but the fears that you got, they got them. The shortcomings, they got them. The aspirations, they're all the same. And so when I went in that environment, it gave me confidence that you just like me. I don't give a crap what you say. You scared like I'm scared. Okay?
You had a very special mother.
Oh, she was awesome, yeah. And to have those nuggets going in to maneuver in that environment, I'm talking about a very racist environment. I'm talking about KKK, and I don't mean the cool colored cats either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's I look at it, but it was my norm, and I think I look back, ask myself why. Well, the foundation, the instruction. I grew up in the black community. We're not taught hate. Anyway, it's not part of our culture to hate. It's not part of it. So, not that there are some bad people. Don't be wrong, black people, but it's not part of our culture to hate.
Yeah.
It just isn't. No.
Well, you also went to high school with some famous people.
Oh yeah. I went to high school, and some family fame. Case in point, Norm Nixon, who played for the Lakers, his brother Kenny and I were the same age. Kenny was one of those 12 guys to integrate at junior high school. Norm was 4 years younger, but Norm Nixon played for the Los Angeles Lakers.
And the Duquesne Dukes.
Duquesne Dukes here. There was baseball player Johnny Blue Moon Odoms, who was from my neighborhood. Otis Reddings, I used to play piano at his father's church, so I knew Otis, and his kids and Otis' kids and my younger brother and sisters were best friends. They was at my house, his children, so I knew Otis and his wife very well. Let me think who else. The Allman Brothers. I went to high school with the Allman Brothers.
The Allman Brothers.
Yeah.
Eat a peach.
Yeah.
I love the Allman Brothers.
Yeah, I went to school with Allman. They were high school band back then at that time.
Yeah?
Yeah. And there are quite a few other people from Macon, Georgia area that jazz singer, I can't forget her name.
Was Little Richard from there?
Oh yeah. Little Richard was like family. My mother and Little Richard, well, my aunt, my mother's sister, they were the same age. My mother's a little older, but Little Richard and my aunt was same grade, grew up in the same. And he would come to the house between his changes. The last time I saw him, he was I was in college, I guess it was. He came home and he had found Jesus or somebody, and he was a minister, and he was there at Macon, Georgia, a big tent rally. It was huge. So he back in Macon.
Was he playing the piano?
Oh, y'all played the piano. And we had a piano at the house too, so obviously.
Oh, you were a piano player, weren't
you? Yeah, I had a piano. We had a big old.
Who taught you?
I took lessons.
Did you?
Yeah, I took lessons until I was about 15 years old. Yeah, I started at 10, and that's what I was doing. I wasn't playing sports. I was playing piano. So JT was playing the piano. We gonna throw the football. But anyway, yeah. But little Richard, he was friends with my mother and my aunt, you know, and he would come to the house, and, you know. But you don't realize, you know.
That's some big famous people
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
I agree with you. Like I was blessed. I look back, I said, wow. I mean, you know.
And Dr. Martin Luther King, he drops in every once in a while.
Well, he dropped into the city of Macon, you know. This is, you know, he's in Georgia ministering.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
And you know, doing the, and like I say, and my mentor in college was the Reverend Charles K. Steele, who was the founder of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference that Dr. King ran. They had wanted Dr. King to, they wanted Reverend Steele, Charles K. Steele, to run it, but he said, no, Martin should run it. But he was my mentor, but I didn't know that when I first met him. I'm an 18-year-old. They gave me the Underground Railroad was still running when I left Macon. They gave me a call. You get to Tallahassee, remember the NAACP at Macon said, listen, you call this guy. Anyway,
You call this guy.
Yeah, I called him after
Reverend
a couple of weeks.
Steele.
Yeah, Reverend Charles K. Steele. And found out who he was. He got history. Oh my God.
He's got some history. So we're going to take you back to high school. And
Okay.
now you're realizing you can play football. Mm-hmm. And you're having some success on the football field.
Sure.
And now some colleges are starting to come around and talk to you. So what's happening there?
Well, that didn't happen until my senior year. Prior to that, none of the schools in the Southeast were actually recruiting African Americans, none of the white colleges at all. Although in 1964, the Civil Rights, you know, bill was passed to that disallowed segregation, but the college wasn't buying it. Now they had integrated white schools with, you know, students, but sports wasn't touching them. So.
Well, the big school down there is University of Georgia, right?
University of Georgia, you know, the University of South Carolina, Florida, even Florida State, Tennessee, all those schools there. But going into my senior year, I have no idea. I'm not even thinking about college. I have no money to go. There's no opportunity because no one's recruiting black athletes. And I can't go to a historical black college because they're not recruiting from a white school. So going to my senior year, I mean, college is not on my mind. Not even going to a black college, you know. So one of the reporters in my hometown, he had called Vince Dooley, head coach at the University of Georgia, and asked Vince to consider me as the first African American University of Georgia. Vince said, we're not ready yet. And about 3 days later, I got a call from Coach Bill Peterson at Florida State, and he said, JT, we heard what Vince said. They're not ready. We're ready. So I dropped any letters and tentative appointment from scouts that were looking down and went to Florida State. I had one discouraging, and I wanted to hit the guy. He was a scout from Tennessee. He came down, and you know, I ran and did some exercise for him. I'm sitting there catching my breath, and he's sitting there and said, well, you know, if we decide to bring you up to Tennessee, I want you to stay with your kind. Stay with your kind. I said, what? Stay with your kind. We don't want you, you know, messing with our white girls up there. And I looked at him. I wanted to hit him with a brick. So I just walked away, went to the locker room, got dressed and left. And the next day my coach asked me, what happened? I said, nothing. You know, I wasn't going to Tennessee, you know, and I don't think Tennessee probably didn't recruit an African American until about 1970, maybe 73. They had the first African American there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
So you end up at Florida State, and you
1969.
mentioned Reverend Steele. And when you went to see him, what did he tell you? He's big in the civil rights movement,
He's
right?
huge. I wasn't cognizant of that. I had no idea he'd been house been firebombed and what he'd done in Florida. They had no idea, and that he was the co-founder, founder of the Southern Christian Leadership. I had no idea of his magnitude. But well, the first thing I walked in, I saw this guy. He's leathery looking, ball on the side, goatee. He looked like he could have been Satan. Just need a pitchfork and a red suit. But anyway, he was kind of nonchalant. He's, asked me, well, how things been going? That, and he said, here's my contact. Call me anytime, any night, anything that goes on. And I said, okay. And he gave me a lot of advice about who to trust, who not to trust. Even in terms, he got down to black people, and because they too could be the enemy, So he was, but the thing that he told me, I understand the games in life and all that, but what he told me that I was too young to grasp, but I remember, probably got a year and a half later, he say, let me tell you, being the first black, he knew all that. He say, access does not mean acceptance. And for an 18-year-old, that was too heavy for me to digest what that means. Probably a year and a half later, and through the experience, on campus and through the whole civil rights movement, I understood what that meant, and I saw it within the football team. There are some players that that come out of racist background that I knew that meant harm, that did not want to be in a team with African American football players. That was very obvious. There were coaches there that had never talked to, mentored, or a black person. So how do you coach me? How do you motivate me? What are my triggers? These coaches don't know that. Even one of the greatest coaches that was there was Coach Bill Parcells.
So Coach Bill Parcells was your coach at Florida State?
He was the linebacker coach, which meant that he was in the huddle all the time. He was one of those guys that he led the linebacker off. He would headbutt the sled himself. Let them know exactly. He was kind of the guy that he wasn't the head coach, but if you didn't know it, you would think he was the head coach. He was the loudest, the obnoxious one. Said what he wanted to say when he spared no one. He was that kind of guy, So you didn't look at him from like some coaches. You knew they were tentative in terms of the race thing. Parcells just didn't give a damn about anybody. I don't think he didn't care. And a guy like that is even. You can deal with a guy that is even killed. When a guy is wishy-washy, And so he was the guy that was even killed. No one likes him. He didn't like nobody. So but he was a great influencer in my life, unbeknownst to me at that time, in terms of what his role was. I mean, he had that psychological leverage that he could use, and he used it. I'll never forget this. Going into the first game of me playing at FSU as the first black is huge. And I'll never forget the day before the game with special teams, and I'm going off the field. And Parcells, he 3 fields away, but when he yells and speaks, it gets so quiet, you can hear a cockroach pissing. So he calls me out. I'm going to the field. Reporters out here want to get my view on tomorrow's game as the first black. Because then I wasn't just playing for my family. I'm playing for all the guys that come behind me, the Deion Sanders who went to Florida State. Because the thinking was that these African Americans cannot compete on the athletic field or in the academic classroom. That was what it was. They just hear, So you had to prove that lie that you belong, and more so than that, you're not going to check the box, you're going to blow the box up. So that was the idea. But Bill Parcells, I was going to these reporters, he called me out, and he 2 football fields away, and he said, "Thomas!" And everybody's looking, and he's yelling, "You know what? You haven't shown me shit." I don't know why he's calling me out. Matter of fact, when you get in there, you call your mama. Well, you don't, in the black neighborhood, you don't talk about mama. That's fighting words. You don't, that's profanity, that's blasphemous, that's hellbound. You call your mama and you tell her to send me some of those newspaper clippings and them articles, because I ain't seen a damn thing. Now, I get out to these reporters. I don't know what the heck they're asking me, because I'm pissed, I'm embarrassed, I'm mad at this coach here that I want to, go upside his head. So I don't know what they're talking about. I forgot about being black, whatever the case may be. So I go inside. He comes through and he walks through as if he's got manure on his top lip, looking at me. And I'm looking back at him. Okay. Day of the game. This is huge. I'm intenseful and stuff like that. He comes through again. He's looking at me the same way. I'm looking back at him. And I forgot about the moment here if it take place. I'm been introduced at the defensive ball club as left cornerback. J.T. Thomas, the first time a black had played and entered that stadium. It didn't hit me until that moment of introduction what was happening, because I'm thinking about Parcells. But anyway, skipping to the end, I end up having a great ending game. Last 30 seconds of the game, we are winning 9-7 against Louisville. And they got the ball, they're on that 30-yard line, and they're about to line up to kick a field goal and win this game by 1 point. So we call field goal, block left. And I've been practicing coming off the corner, I got this 4-4 speed, and I blocked it. The stadium went up in like crazy uproar. The only problem, I had yellow flags all over my butt. Offside, number 26. I said, oh my God, no. I'm feeling whatever. And ended up, go back in the huddle. One of my homeboys, Ron Wallace, who was a minister today. He was a minister today, and he was the defensive end. We get in the huddle there. They move the ball up 5. That's a chip shot now. Ron does something that's very uncharacteristic at that time. This is what, 1970. Hey guys, let's hold hands. Football players are not holding hands anytime, not especially on the football field in 1970. Ron get these guys to hold hands, and Ron commenced to have a prayer. Who in the heck does that? Ron Wallace did. So Ron said his prayer. Okay. Ron was a guy that we respected, mild-mannered, tough defensive end, on the small side, but he had this quiet leadership about him. There's something about him. He spoke like E.F. Hutton. Okay, yeah, Ron said it. Let's hold hands. I lined up, I blocked it again. And Ron picked up and ran about 30 to 40 yards. They tackled him, and that was my debut at Florida State. A great one. You couldn't have written this. Go back into the locker room after the game. Here come Parcells. He still got crap on his top lip looking at me. Now he's walking towards me. Now I'm feeling pretty good. I had a great debut here. Won this game here. I'm gonna punch this something. He gets in my face talking about my mama and me sending him some trophies and stuff. He keeps walking. And I'm too intense because this is going on here. He gets up, I'm waiting, and he grabs me and hugs and says, "You bad SOB." And it was a moment where I think he had taken my mind off the moment, totally off the moment, because I'm still there. I'm mad. You calling me out and telling me to call my mama and tell her to send me see you some stuff because you ain't, and that was just some. I didn't realize that at the time, but obviously looking back at he was. That's why he's a great, successful coach in the pros.
Such a success. Now, I want to
Yeah.
go back just for a moment because you told a great story I want you to share. There was a lot of hoopla, a lot of media about you being the first African-American player to play at Florida State. And right before the game, they're writing articles, they're coming to see you and talk to you, and Parcells was playing that all down.
Yeah.
But the night before the game, you said your mother gave you a phone call, and I want you to share what she said during that phone call.
Oh yeah, it was very interesting. Obviously, she had called and say, well, y'all in the papers, they're talking about this great moment and stuff like that. And so at that time we're talking, and I'm older now, and I called my mother on some advice that she had given me, supposedly spiritual advice, and I didn't think it was so spiritual. When I was 14, going into Lanier Junior High School, she had set me down and said, you two love to play ball, they're going to kill you out there. You shouldn't be going out there because that's the easier for them to kill you to play football. They're
going to kill you out there.
They're going to kill you out there. But since you're going out there, I'm going to let you go. But she said, but sit down here next to my bed. I sit on the floor. And she grabbed the Bible. And she opened her Bible up. And my mother always was making up stuff, reading stuff. So she said, say after me. She said, be anxious for nothing. I said, be anxious for nothing. Okay. She flipped again. Then she said, go to God boldly. She said, whenever she says go to God boldly, I said, God, who you right now? I said, don't be shy, go to him boldly. I said, okay, I go to God boldly. Okay. And your motto is, I can. I can. No matter what people tell you, say, I can, I can. I say, in every situation, she said, every situation you get in, you feel anxiety, whatever, you say, don't be anxious for it. She said, don't be anxious. She said, go to God boldly and tell yourself, I can, I can. And I said, I did. And I did that. And she also said, read the 27th Psalm, which I probably know backwards before now. But anyway, before anything that you do. And so I questioned her on her biblical references.
This is the night before the first
Night
game.
before my first game. I said, Mom, I'm 19. I'm not 14 anymore. 5 years later. I said, Mom, listen here. Those verses that you're talking about, that's not in the Bible. I'll say the shortest verse in the Bible is Jesus wept. Okay? There ain't no be anxious for nothing. There ain't no go to God boldly. There ain't no I can in the Bible. Okay? That's short. And she said, oh, baby, yes, it is. She said, get your Bible. I did. She said, open it up, okay, to Philippians 4:6 and read it. Open it up. And wow, there it was. She had given me the nugget, but the verse said, be anxious for nothing, but in all things by prayer, supplication, and with thanksgiving, make your requests known unto the Lord. She said, okay, turn over to Hebrews 4:16. I turned over. And there it was. Let us go boldly to the throne of grace that we may obtain mercy and find grace in our time of need. Now I'm getting blown away here because she gave me this nugget. She said, turn back over to Philippians 4, go down to verse 13. And there it was, my motto. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And what I didn't realize, though, when she had told me to be anxious for nothing, she had given me my attitude. When she told me to go to God boldly, that was my authority I had in life. And when she said, I can, that was my ability. And I didn't realize at 14 that she had actually given me my attitude, how I look at life. She had given me the authority I had, but also the ability. And I have been carrying that around in all situations as a template, even today. I do, yeah. I mean, that's my scope. And the 27th Psalm, that starts off, the Lord is my light of my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life, and whom shall I be afraid? That's how it first starts off. So I've been walking around with that as my template and mantra in everything I did all my life. And so I didn't know any better, to function that way. But that was or is, I should say, the criteria or is my strategic strategies, the tactic, everything is centered around that aspect of my life. You know. Yeah.
What a wonderful mother you
Oh
have.
yeah, she was. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Very fortunate, very blessed to have a mother like that.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So now you have your success at Florida State, and you knew about the Green Bay Packers and Willie Wood and Herb Adderley,
Yeah.
and you knew a few other teams, and you were told maybe that you had a chance to play
Sure.
at the next level.
Yeah.
And so now this was 1972, and the Steelers are playing a playoff game against the Oakland Raiders. And where were you when that happened? That's the year before you came to the Steelers. Where were you when Franco made that catch?
Yeah, I was, like I said, I knew I was going pro finally. I figured second, third round. Obviously, I mean, I was one of the top defensive backs in the country, so yeah, I got a shot. It wasn't a dream, though. It was something that, it was always a means to me. Football was a means to something. Like I said, I liked the game. I loved the strategy. I loved the competition, but I never loved football, almost like that. It wasn't that type of thing. But I'm out in Palo Alto, California, watching I'm on the East, that's this all-star game called the East-West Shrine Game, on the East team. So the East team, we're sitting there watching the game in the big room. We got a big feast, big old pig and food and drink, have a good time. And we're watching the 1972 team with Franco Harris rookie year in the AFC Championship against the Oakland Raiders. So guys decided to bet. I don't know how to bet. But since they're betting, feeling pretty good, stomach full, the drinks are flowing, I'm going to bet. So 30 guys there, so I take them all of them. And the bet was $30 a head. So that's $900, that if I don't win. Now, mind you, I only left Tallahassee with $500. And half of it's gone. But I'm betting 900. So anyway, so I done bet and not conscious what I've done until the last section of the game, guys start calling out my name because Pittsburgh is losing.
So you bet on the Steelers.
Oh yeah, and I did it just to be controversial. I mean, just my nature.
And most of the other players bet on the Raiders.
They betting on the Raiders, and I'm gonna just take them all on. Just for,
You're going to take them all on,
yeah,
just to be contrary.
that's my nature. I love conflict. But anyway, so they start calling my name out. T, it's time to pay up. And I looked up here, so all of a sudden, the drinks are not good anymore because these guys I don't think they're going to do to me. I tried to sneak out of this ballroom, and they had two big sous chefs there. They said, don't let T out. I couldn't get around. They stood in front of me. So I sat down in the chair next to the table where all the food was, this pig was. And they had this pig here. And they had two sabers, crossed in front of me, So I'm looking at him and listening to this game. And all of a sudden, I heard this crowd. Oh my, they screamed, what the hell? That's God. I looked up, and it's number 32. I don't know who the hell, I know Steelers were. We didn't have cable TV. So, I mean, I never watched the Steelers. And I don't know who he is, but I know he was going for a touchdown. I jumped up. I said, give me those two sabers there. I said, give me that pot. I stood up in the chair. We got this door. I'm tapping the pot with one hand, and I'm going to behead anyone that do not give me my $30. Well, anyway, I left that with $900.
Franco made you some money.
He did. I hadn't seen $900 in my life. On the way back to Tallahassee, now I had a couple hundred in my pocket left. I got $1,000. I ain't never seen that. I must have counted it, I don't know, 25, 30 times, And not knowing, now that's December of 1972, the draft then was in January, next month. I had no idea I would be the #1 draft choice of the Pittsburgh Steelers because the Steelers, I never heard from the Steelers. I never got a letter, a phone call, a little emblem, a little still a package. I got packed from Green Bay, Miami, Houston, Kansas City. Had ran 40s for a few scouts, you know. I don't know nothing about the Steelers. Haven't talked to the Steelers. Ain't seen a Steeler. I ain't got a letter from a Steeler. And I'm the number one draft choice. And it just blew my mind. I know.
So tell me about draft day. What was draft day like for you? Because it's not like now today. It's a big event.
It's a big
and
event.
It's coming here to Pittsburgh soon. But draft day back then was not like that.
No, it wasn't. No, guys, some guys were excited, but to the extent of today is huge. But I had flown myself and two other guys on my team, two of the African American guys that that also were drafted to Houston to talk with an agent that represented some other ball players. So he kind of coaxed us into signing with him. We talked to these NFL players there down in Houston, and the greatest thing for me was I was exposed to Chinese food, good, and Heineken beer. So that was my introduction to Houston. But anyway, after about a day before the draft, I'm trying to figure out, well, all my life, what ones that helped me, and all of a sudden this guy gonna help me. And I decided, listen, I'm flying back to Florida. So the day of the draft. So anyway, I left that evening and flying back. I had flown before, but I never ridden a bus. I thought when I get to Jacksonville, I take a Greyhound bus. The bus comes directly to Tallahassee. I didn't know. I haven't been on the bus since either. I didn't know that the bus hit every town it could find from Jacksonville to Tallahassee. So I'm traveling about 18, 19 hours. So when I get back to Tallahassee, it's about 5 o'clock in the morning, and the draft back then was around 10. Well, I'm tired. I hit the side. I'm gone. So I missed the draft. About 3 o'clock, one of my teammates is kicking on my door and say, T, you in there? I said, yeah, I woke up. He said, Coach wants you on the hall phone. It wasn't this. So I walked onto the hall phone, and he said, where in the hell you been? I tell him the story, He said, well, listen, get your ass down to the TV station. You're the number one draft choice of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I said, what? And so voila, I haven't heard from him. And it blew my mind. And I had no idea of Pittsburgh or even going to the first round. That wasn't a thought, not at all.
So what did you think of Pittsburgh? Did you know anything about Pittsburgh?
Yeah, we had played the University of Pitt my senior year. We came up and we beat Pitt. So, but I had no idea I'll be returning in less than 12 months. And this will be home.
Who did you want to play for?
I didn't care. Like I say, it was when football, to most guys at that time, it was a place to gain seed money. We called it springboard money. You didn't look at it as money to be set for life, to get rich. It gave you a step up. And my goal was then, I get 5 years, get vested for a pension, then I'm gonna get into my life works. Today now, I get 5 years, I'm set for life. Whole new different ballgame.
Right.
So the thinking was totally different, and it was always been a means to an end, and even more so then. If I was coming today, I'm sure I'd think different. I get 5 years, that's generational wealth.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a different mindset, yeah.
So now you're drafted, and you come to Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened, and when did you meet Coach Noll, and how did that go? How did your introduction come to Pittsburgh?
Well, obviously we was at the William Penn Hotel. Never forget this. It was snowing. I haven't seen snow like this. It was cold, and they want to go outside and the snow, and myself and another draft choice, I think a linebacker from Michigan. We're gonna pose with Chuck. Scooping some snow up there in Mellon Park, that area, right behind the William Penn, that area. And and Chuck, Chuck always been just matter of fact on the point, and he said this. He said, we had a great season last year, and he said, we about a player away from being, for a Super Bowl. So that's just part of his marketing crap that he's talking. I took it for what it's worth. And he say that we drafted, you told me why he drafted, he said, we have a cornerback here named John Rouser. See, John is a great player. John is an older player. John played for Vince Lombardi and for the Green Bay. But John has lost a step, and we brought you in really to fill that void, and we feel that that void is what we need to fill, and that's why we bring. That's why you drafted. That's why you drafted me, you know. And he was very candid. That's why you drafted me, and that was the reason. And then obviously, John played my rookie year, and then my second year they traded John to Denver, and boom, I moved in, and you know, went on to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, you know, so you went to training camp, and John Rouser was the starter.
John was the starter. John was the veteran player. John probably one of the wisest football players I've met. You can imagine, I'm the number one draft choice. I'm a cornerback and safety. So you know who's not talking to me? Mel Blount ain't talking to me. Glenn Edwards is not talking to me, nor is Mike Wagner. Because this dude played corner and said, we ain't got nothing to say to him except, hey, bro, what's happening? See you later. You know, Rouser kind of took me under his wing, knowing that I'm coming to take his job. He wasn't threatened by that. He knew that. And he was just as smart as Bud Carson, the defensive coordinator, because John did things that Bud wasn't cognizant of why John did it or how John did it, or how did John know that. And John just didn't share it. And he would say, well, I know what Bud say, but this is what you need. He taught me how to read. He taught me how to read lineman's head, like a video game. Like lineman's head, he say, if you wait until a lineman take a step, you forget about it. He said, and back then we did a lot of run support. The Steelers run support for run all came from the secondary. Because that's why we had the big cornerbacks. You had to be big, fast, and support the run. Most teams support the run with ends and linebackers, not the Steelers. So, and John said, well, if you wait until the lineman take a step, you're going to be up there next to the Gatorade. He's going to just take your ass and knock your ass. There's no way 265, 270 going to deal with that 190, 200 pounds. You're gone. So he taught me how to read heads of the lineman, and I'm on the strong side most of the time, the tight end, the tackle, the guard. And he said, eventually you'll be able to read from the tight end to the far tackle. And on their head movements back or down would dictate run a pass. Because that's what John did. He was reading heads, not footsteps. Most guys wouldn't take a step. Where you late? So, and there are other things that he taught me that you don't think about. If both backs are flowing away, he only can do a bootleg, but where they flow is where he's going. It's like if everybody's flowing that way, that's where it's going. You know. So it just basic stuff he had that wasn't taught, and Carson knew that. He knew that because after I did an interview once, he was walking with me, and Carson said, "Listen, T, you said John taught you a lot of stuff." I said, "You talking about what did John teach you?" I gave him something. He said, "That's bullshit." What you said, that's not what he taught you. It probably was bullshit. Because when someone teaches something, how do you recall it sometimes? And Bud wanted to know factual what he said. And Bud knew what I said. It probably was bullshit. I told him something he already knew. But he was very instrumental in allowing me to make the adjustment and matriculate to a level of understanding the game. Yeah. How
barbaric was training camp back then?
Boy. It was
physical.
It was very physical. I saw the day, yesterday, they come to camp, they got their shorts on, they smiling coming down the hill and in shorts. And I look, I said, oh my God, this is a country club. I never saw any guys walking down the hill smiling. It was nothing to smile about. The whole idea then was to break you mentally and physically. It was designed to be barbaric.
Like a military boot camp.
It was. It was a boot camp. You were treated. It was a gut check every day, all day. It was a gut check, and that went on with 6 weeks of training camp. We had 4 weeks to 2-a-days. You could drop 6 pounds in the morning and drop 10 in the afternoon, easily. Not a big deal. Yeah. So it was hitting, barbaric fights every day, encouraged, and everything was designed to be barbaric, animalistic. The training, the drills, it was strictly a gut check, and what it would do, it would weed out players, because there's some players in the middle of the night they leave. So we didn't have the media coverage like they have today. So if a guy left, you didn't know it. I mean we knew it, but the fans, well, you woke up in the morning, his room is empty. He left in the middle of the night. Then there's some guys, you see in their eyes, they get too much pride, they get cut. They just waited, hoping that knock on the door. Coach want to see you, bring your playbook. Those are hallelujah words for some players, But that was the whole idea, because and then they wanted the best players. Not today, it's about the economic. We gave him $30 million. We need a return on investment. We can't get him hurt. Today, the investment wasn't there to worry about them. They want a return on the athleticism, and they're looking for thoroughbreds and Clydesdales. Maybe a few cutting horses, but donkey, jackasses, and mules, no, this ain't the place for you. they were weeding them out. Yeah, it was strictly Clydesdales and thoroughbreds.
Was there many other people beside John Rouser that helped you during training camp?
Not in terms of the skill set of playing corner, but in terms of what it took. L.C. Greenwood was I'm pursuing a play and not realizing the speed in pro football. Not that I don't have the speed, I'm not used to the speed holding here. In college, you got, I could bring it here, bring it down no. So I'm pursuing a play, and L.C. said, "Hey, Rope, T, get out the way. You ain't gonna get over there. Get out the way so I can get over there." So he let me know that, hey, this tempo is here, baby. Down in here, that dog don't hunt. So he say, this is the tempo. He say, you running that 4-4? That ain't your police speed, is it? He said, put your police speed on. Get your ass over there.
Police speed.
Yeah.
That's the first time I ever heard that.
Yeah, we use that term, we said,
police speed.
We asked the guys, what's your 40 time? 4.4, 4.5, whatever. Then they said, what's your police speed? That's a different speed. But anyway, yeah. But though that type of competition, that type of standard, so here's the standard here. Or you miss a tackle or something, or someone run over you, or Joe Green will come back. Hey, T, we don't roll like that. No, in other words, that don't go up in here. Him doing that, you take him out. He don't knock you down. No. Hey, we don't roll that way. So that type of reinforcement of, hey, here's the standard, baby. Yeah.
Who did you feel was a leader on that defense for you?
They all were, and that's what made it unique. It all depended on what day it was. They all were. Glenn Edwards sometimes. We're out, and Joe getting trapped in one game, and Glenn Edwards come up, hey, Green, you making me look bad, man. Hey, you can't play the trap? Get your ass out the game. This is the free safety talking to Joe Green. And that's taken, and Green, no, But the leader changed based on the situation, and that's what people don't know. You have a lot of leaders out there, and when you win that way, it requires that. It's not immediate say, he's the leader, Lambert the leader. No, Mike Wagner, if you want to know who were the brains behind the instructor of Mike Wagner the free safety. We had tons of audibles and checks. Well, who could see them? We playing tight, bump and run. I can't see any checks. I don't see any movement. I got this Bob Hayes or Isaac Curtis, these world-class The Gazelles out here, I'm focused here. And Mike Wagner, as the free safety, has to know everything. Lambert, he's called in some checks, but he's in the middle of the line. Wagner is the one. He was so key, but you wouldn't know that because people don't know. Well, Wags had to know all the checks. When we audible, I'm locked in. Wags had to call to get us out of certain coverages, you know. So he was very key, but you wouldn't know it by the media, though. Yeah, that's just, you know.
We have a lot more to talk about with these four-time Super Bowl winning champion Pittsburgh Steelers. This is part 2, and I thank you for joining us for part 2.
Oh, my pleasure.
And we're going to talk more in part 3.
Well, most definitely.
And I hope you enjoyed part 2 of J.T. Thomas, the 4-time Super Bowl winning Pittsburgh Steeler. I just want to part with this. If you, your mother, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, if they needed an organ transplant to save their life, we would all say yes to that. So with that being the case, we all can be an organ donor on our driver's license and save lives. The gift of life is the best gift that you can give. Thank you for watching. Please join us again. I'm your host, Lee Adams. Take care.